Welcome back. Self-Sustained here again. Today I thought we might change things up a little bit. Instead of a let's play, I'm going to do a little bit of a behind-the-scenes look, if you will. I think this will be the first of a series of videos. I'm going to kind of break down what makes each of my characters tick. So, as you can see today, we're starting with Almity. I'm actually going to keep this exclusive to my 100, so as they level up and get to 100, I'll produce more videos like this and add to the series. So at the moment, there will be Almity and Fally. Now, in World of Warcraft, each class has 3 primary specializations they can choose between. As a priest, those are Discipline, Holy, and Shadow damage. Shadow being the only damage, and the other 2 being more of a healer spec. So Discipline's my personal preference as far as healing. Not to say that it's any better or worse than Holy. I just have more fun with it. Discipline, basically it specializes in damage absorption with its shields and mitigation. What that means is instead of just plain healing through the damage, it actually does what it can to smooth incoming damage, so that way there's less to heal. It's really quite fun, especially when I get to the damage aspect of this healing spec, which is a lot of fun to play for me. So we'll begin by, again, we're in Discipline, and the 4 main characteristics of Discipline are your Penance spell. It's a channeled, a lot of fun. Power Word Shield, which is going to be used 99% of the time. Holy Nova makes for an excellent AoE, and Prayer of Healing is also a nice little, powerful prayer heals the friendly target's party members within 30 yards for a set amount of damage. So we'll start by going into the talents here. And as you can see how I've got mine set up, I refer to icyveins.com for a lot of my builds. They seem to do a lot of research and know their game. So I'll kind of briefly go through each talent in each of the tiers, generating back to which one I actually choose, again, as Icy Veins suggests. So in the first tier, at level 15, you'll be able to choose between these top 3. First one's Angelic Bulwark, which is a passive, which is great in the sense that you don't have to worry about it taking some of your global cooldown. Let you read through them, kind of speed this along a little bit. But the second one here is Spectral Guise. According to Icy Veins, it's not a very viable talent in any aspect, really. It's easily overpowered by either of the other 2. So we're not going to mess with it too much at all. Myself, I chose Desperate Prayer, whereas, again, Icy Veins said Desperate Prayer or Angelic Bulwark. Desperate Prayer is nice to keep myself alive in times of need. In the second tier, at level 30, you can choose one of these 3. So we'll start here again with Phantasm. Another passive, but really, again, Icy Veins didn't think that was a good one. In tier 2 here, it's more about mobility, and basically only thing that Phantasm does is when you activate Fade, it removes all and gives you a little bit of movement. Meaning you got to use Fade for Phantasm to do any good. Whereas I don't use Fade hardly ever. It doesn't do me any good. The other option here was Angelic Feather. Nice viable second option. Has its little downfalls in the sense of, like, if you're in the middle of a stacked situation in a raid progression, for instance, and you need to throw down some Angelic Feather, there's no real way of making sure you get the correct party member. Anybody that touches it is going to grab it instead, so it becomes harder to use. So it leaves you with Body and Soul. Your Power Word Shield and Leap of Faith increases that person's movement speed by 60 seconds by 60% for 4 seconds. Sorry about that. Which, whereas Power Word Shield is, like I said, the thing you're going to use 99% of the time. Easy choice there. Third tier, level 45, you choose between Surge of Light. Basically, healing spells and smite have an extra chance to make your next flash heal instant and cost no mana, which is nice. It'd be a useful idea in certain situations. Mindbender grants an improved version of Shadow Fiend, which is a nice little pet that's on cooldown that you can use. Basically, the only real use for it is that when it does damage, it generates mana for you. So, with that, it leaves Power Word Solace, which is an instant attack. Basically, what it does is it takes the place of Holy Fire. And when you strike an enemy, it is Holy Fire, but it does a little bit different damage. Plus, it also restores 2% of maximum mana each time you use it, which is a nice mana regen. The fourth tier at level 60, there really isn't anything that helps or hinders. It's really more of a situational and therefore user's choice, if you will. So out of the three, there was Dominate Mind, which controls the mind up to 103 for 30 seconds, which is can be cool, can be fun, but again, very situational. Psychic Scream, basically it's like an AoE fear, which is also a lot of fun, but I stuck with Void Tendrils, which is similar. What it does is as it says, summons shadowy tendrils rooting up to 5 targets within 8 yards for 20 seconds. Whereas Psychic Scream lets out the scream, causing 5 enemies within 8 yards to flee, disorienting them for 8 seconds. Of course, damage will interfere or interrupt that scream. So I stuck with Tendrils, just again going by Icy Veins' suggestion there. Tier 5 at level 75, you have the choices of Twist of Fate, which is nice if you're in a progression situation where a lot of people are going to be at that 35% health or below. Otherwise, it really becomes useless. Spirit Shell, for your next 10 seconds, heal, flash heal, prayer of healing, no longer heal, but instead create additional absorption shields. And I stuck with Power Infusion, which basically on a 2-minute cooldown allows 20 seconds of increased haste by 25%, and it reduces the mana cost of all spells by 20%. A lot of good help on that one. Tier 6 is based more around the AoE, Area of Effect Healing. So in this one, there's actually 2 options. You could go with Cascade or Halo. Divine Star wasn't really recommended. As much as Halo or Cascade. Halo, the biggest downfall to it would be it's another one of those where everybody's got to kind of be stacked in order to be hit. Make sure that they're in the area. Whereas Cascade is more of a, think of the old Ronco, set it and forget it phrase. I can't help but think of Ronco when I think of that. And when you hit level 100, you get into the tier 7, which is basically they're all one way or another improving your heal abilities. So you have Saving Grace, which is an additional heal that instant cast, 40-yard range, heals target for a large amount, reduces your absorbs and healing done for 15% for 8 seconds, which stacks up to 6 times. I'm not really liking the idea of reducing my absorbs and healing, considering that's what I'm supposed to be doing, so I don't see the point in that as a discipline. Words of Mending would be nice if you're more of the raid healer, and therefore AoE heals are a lot more used, because essentially with Words of Mending, your healing and shielding spells give you Word of Mending. It stacks up to 10 times, and it basically, your next targeting heal, or your next targeted healing or shielding spell also casts a Prayer of Mending on the person you're casting to. So basically it's free Prayer of Mendings. Nice for AoE. Myself, where I'm still not in raid progression yet, and I still do quite a bit of solo activity. Clarity of Will, or more on the single target side, was more essential for me. It's just an additional shield that does an awful lot of absorption. So once again, these talents, like on any character with the Tome of Clear Mind, can be swapped out at random. I could say, oh well, I'm getting ready to go into a situation where I'm going to need more AoE healing. I can just spend a Tome of Clear Mind and switch it anywhere I'd like. So there's a lot of things to change up here, and there's a lot of things that can help in different situations depending on the encounter at hand. But for general, like I said, for where I've been doing up to this point, which is leveling, of course, and got to level 100, and a lot of solo activity and some 5-man dungeons, this has worked out nicely. Makes for a bit of a cloth tank. I like it. It's a lot of fun to play. Glyphs. As far as glyphs are concerned, there was 4 main glyphs that were recommended, perhaps even considerably mandatory. One of those being mandatory would have been Glyph of Penance. Basically, it increases the mana cost of penance by 20%, which sucks, is the downside of it, but what it does is it allows penance to be cast while you're moving. Reason that's such a big deal is, 1, the mobility aspect, obviously, so you're not stuck in place like a cast, but 2, being that it's a channeled spell, before this glyph or without this glyph, anytime you move, say you're in the middle of channeling and the boss drops something underneath your feet, you got to move out the way. You just wasted that penance. And whereas penance is one of your biggest heals and damage on the other side of that, you don't want to waste those any more than you have to. So that one was pretty well mandatory. Then there was also Glyph of Weakened Soul, which basically reduces the duration of Weakened Soul by 2 seconds. Ask what Weakened Soul is. Weakened Soul is every time that you drop... Oh, come on, where's it at? A Power Word Shield. Oh, it's not going to give it to me. Ah, shoot. Basically what it means is that when they have Weakened Soul, upon getting a shield, they are given Weakened Soul. When they have Weakened Soul, you can't give them another shield until Weakened Soul drops, essentially. So that essentially means that debuff is reduced by 2 seconds, it means you can shield more often. Obviously, whereas Power Word Shield, again, is 99% of what you're going to be doing. Near mandatory. Third recommended is Holy Fire. Basically, because it increases the range of your Holy Fire, your Smite, and your Power Word Soulless spells by 10 yards. Essentially giving you a little bit more reach, and it helps keeping your evangelism stacks. The fourth one, and I didn't have on here, was Prayer of Mending. Again, for AoE, it's nice. What this does, though, is it takes from its AoE just a little bit by reducing it by 1 charge. But the first charge of the Prayer of Mending heals for an additional 60%. So overall, a little bit of a loss, but it's still a focused Prayer of Mending, so that's actually more of a viable heal right away. And then, of course, the minors are all cosmetic. There's no benefits to any of them per se. What I've done is Borrowed Time now gives me a visual display of I have Borrowed Time, which is a proc from my Power Word Shield. Borrowed Time causes a gain of 40% more of haste stat from all sources, and that lasts for 6 seconds. So now I can see that visually on screen. The other one I use is Glyph of Heavens, which is again another nice little cosmetic. It makes the levitate targets like so, like they're standing on a cloud. I'm on cloud 9. Look at me. All right, we're gonna get off of the cloud. As far as rotation, general idea of what spells to use and how to heal. 2 main things would be, you got to break it down. There's 2 different types. You can single target rotation, which in case penance becomes your, again, biggest heal / target damage, because it works as either or. So you want to hit penance every time it's off cooldown, most generally on the tank of the group or whoever's taking the most damage, essentially. Second in priority would be Power Word Shield, as it is an obvious mitigation, and it gives you that borrowed time buff for that additional haste. Then, of course, you've got Prayer of Mending, which should almost always be rolling whenever you're in a raid situation. You pretty well just have Prayer of Mending going constantly across the group, making sure everybody's just kind of topped off. Heal is your go-to heal. Let me get to that and I'll show you, because honestly I don't use it that much. I do a lot more mitigation than heal. Heal is a 2.4 second cast that heals for about 22,000. If I hit that one time, you'll see that I did 22,000. Okay, so with that said, you also have Flash Heal. Flash Heal is that emergency button because it takes an awful lot of mana. In fact, if you see, I've got 160,000 mana at my disposal. In one Flash Heal that takes less than a global cooldown, 1.45 seconds. Does the same amount of heal as a heal, but it takes 6,600, over 2 times the mana that a 2.42 second heal takes. You get the same amount of heal out of either one. One takes a second longer for less than half the mana. Get the drift? Those are your main priorities in single target. On the other side, if you're in an AoE situation, 9 times out of 10 you're going to stick to the single target rotation priority list, but you have a couple of more abilities to add in there when possible. One of which is Holy Nova. Holy Nova causes an explosion of light around the caster, which basically reminds me of what the mage does of explosion, arcane explosion. Poof! Except for in this case, on a priest's Holy Nova, not only does it damage to all enemies within 12 yards, but it also heals up to 5 targets within 12 yards. A lot of fun. And it's an instant, so it's done on the move. There's no standing still. You don't have to worry about it. You can just spam it like crazy. And in times of need, especially if you get my talents back out here, if you took Words of Mending, Holy Nova becomes extremely fun, because essentially it means that you're going to stack up your Word of Mending very quick, and it's also going to mean that you're going to be dropping Prayer of Mending on all of your party rapidly. So it makes a lot of fun. Your other ability in AoE situation is Prayer of Healing, which Prayer of Healing is another 2.4 second cast, but it does an AoE heal for everybody around you within 30 yards for 11,000. Outside of those prioritized and your main spells, heals and damage, you have some cooldowns. The first of those to mention would be Pain Suppression. So if I can find it here, where are you at? There you are. 2,560 mana. It's an instant cast. It has a 3-minute cooldown. Reduces all damage taken and can be spent on yourself or any other party member by 40% for 8 seconds. Even if you're stunned, you can still use Pain Suppression. The only downside is the 3-minute cooldown. Other than that, you have the fun Power Word Barrier. As you can see here, you can place in the world up to, up to 40-yard range. That's a nice little range. And drop a Power Word Barrier. And everybody's standing within the barrier for the next 10 seconds. takes 25% less damage. Plus, if they're ranged, spellcasting can't be interrupted, which is a very nice thing. Okay, now, we've gone through talents, we've gone through glyphs, we've gone through the rotation of spells and priority, even the cooldowns. And I know I didn't hit them all, but just kind of touching on the main ones to look out for. And you can always integrate the other ones in certain situations. Like I said, each encounter may include or remove certain aspects to your rotation. On the other side, like I said, whereas Discipline is a healing spec, because of Atonement, let's see, where is that one found again? Atonement. Could have swore it would have been in here. There. When you deal damage with Smite, Holy Fire, and Penance, Power Word, Solace, or their multi-strikes, you instantly heal nearby injured friendly target for the damage dealt, 100% of it. If it's yourself, it's reduced to 50% of the damage dealt, which is still a viable heal when you're out soloing, like I do quite often. Which means that by hitting with Smite, Holy Fire, Penance, using Penance as a damage dealer and not a heal, 50% of damage done would come to me when I'm in solo, or even in 5-man dungeon, for instance, if the tank's a well-geared tank and not taking a lot of damage and the group's doing their job, then you can switch over and just start doing damage along with the rest of the group and know that your atonement is essentially healing for whatever damage you're doing. Whoever has the least amount of damage. Now, unless the tank is well geared, that's not going to happen very often. But in some encounters where you come up with a tank that's just obviously overpowered for the encounter, it means that you now can damage your way through and top off everybody's heals at the same time. Either way, these are the reasons why Discipline, to me, is the priest spec. You can't touch this. Let me know what you think. If you disagree or if you find any of this commentary inaccurate, please let me know down below. If you enjoyed this video, please show me some love. Hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe to keep in contact with all the new content as it arrives. And make sure you share it with your friends. Let everybody see it. Anybody that you know might play World of Warcraft, or anything else for that matter. Like I said, this isn't strictly a World of Warcraft channel. It's just primarily been thus far. I'm more than willing to stretch out and play other things. I have consoles. I have all kinds of different things at my disposal. Just let me know. Either way, thanks for stopping by. Appreciate the attention at SelfiGaming. This has been SelfSustained. Peace.